There is a dangerous possible trend emerging that I just don't see many people discussing right now. And while many seem to be focused on the digital versus physical debate, I touched upon that in my last month's video. I think even more immediate is this issue of false discless physical releases that are seemingly releasing for some console games. I mean, just this month, Obsidian's new RPG, Avowed, which looks phenomenal by the way, is getting a $95 physical edition with no other editions of the game being sold in stores, but yet after paying nearly $100 for a single game, granted you're also getting future expansions and DLCs on top of it, you are not getting a physical disc at all. You get a steelbook, you also get a slipcover, you basically get everything that makes it look like you went to the store and bought a physical copy, yet no disc is included inside. And this isn't the first offender either. Microsoft did this last year with Flight Simulator 2024. Sony has done this with both the God of War Ragnarok and Spider-Man 2 Collector's Editions. I mean, it just sort of goes on, and after paying such a premium for special versions of the games, the idea that you get waste of just having a steelbook which houses nothing but a code inside just so you can display it on your shelf and make yourself feel like you have content on hand is probably perhaps the industry's most pathetic attempt yet at qualming the debate of physical games ownership and their longevity. Of course, there has been some pushback on this, and companies always seem to have the most hilarious of excuses. Sony said that the reason you didn't get a disc with the collector's editions of the previous games I mentioned was due to the fact that many have digital PS5s, and some of those people may want to buy collector's editions but couldn't use a disc. Wait, what? I have never come across anybody who purchased a PS5 digital edition and thought this way. In fact, I find it hard-pressed to understand their logic that if you knowingly purchased a digital edition console, why then would you have any interest in any physical copies of a game, let alone collector's editions, which cost hundreds more? Like, you probably stream all of your movies, you download all of your games, you pay for subscriptions to listen to all of your music. Like, there's absolutely no interest there of anything that anyone could put out that could possibly commit you to want to buy a physical copy. That is basically what you're saying when you're buying a digital-only console. Perhaps only if maybe it was your favorite game of all time, but spending hundreds of dollars for a physical version of a game when you committed yourself to a digital-only console is about the most illogical thing you could do. And Microsoft has seemingly not addressed any of the concerns or questions from people regarding Avowed. There has been some pushback, as I said before, some articles, but just no word yet from Microsoft as to why they made this decision or if players could expect any updated or limited releases in the future. Now, in particular, I find the Xbox community the most unyielding for their disdain of physical media. It's actually quite remarkable how Game Pass has just single-handedly re-educated an entire platform's fan base. And I'm very much aware that by addressing anything physical that has to do with Xbox, I'm likely to hit some pushback myself. I don't subscribe to Game Pass. I can't see myself ever doing so. Game Pass could be $1 a month and it still wouldn't address any of the issues that I have with it. It wouldn't appeal to me as someone who likes to own their media, or rather just invest in physical copies myself. I've spoken on this before, but it's a bit different when we're talking about the PC platform here because there's actual competition across storefronts. It's not that I hate digital games. It's not that I refuse to download any games at all. That's not the case whatsoever. It's about security and knowing that everything I have doesn't hinge on a single platform's monopolistic store practices and having to get your games in one place, governed by one corporation, priced by all the publishers. There are tons of games on the Microsoft Store, the Sony PlayStation Store as well, that are games that are like 10, 15 years old that they're charging you almost full price for. Yet you can go and buy a physical version of the game for 10, 15 bucks online and get all the content, associated with that as well for a lot cheaper. I think competition is good. I always want the choice. I don't want one to win over the other. I think that through choice and through competition, we as gamers and everyone benefits as a result of that. And unfortunately, there just seems to be this large conversation about surrounding the Xbox community specifically that discs need to die. There's just a lot of freedoms when it comes to digital ownership that the console space can't match to the PC. And I mean, even Steam family sharing is just a decade ahead of anything the consoles have at the moment. All I have to do is add someone to a group on Steam and we get to share our games. But on Xbox and PlayStation, I need to commit that one console I'm signed in as my home or main platform, allowing for offline play. There's so many other variables here that just kind of weasel their way into making whatever, freedoms that you have on there a compromise. But regardless of that, the truth is I'm actually really interested in Avowed. I really want to play this game. And I'm sitting here just wondering if I'm going to need to wait for a PS5 release, because it's coming, right? It's going to come to PS5. The question is, will it get a disc release then? Because if Microsoft isn't going to provide physical releases, perhaps we'll see other companies like Limited Run, I Am 8-Bit, creating these physical labels for games exclusively on PS5. And for the record, PlayAsia is actually doing this currently right now. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black is getting a physical release only on PS5, and they did this back in 2023, I believe, for Like a Dragon Gaiden as well. So if that's going to be the case, then I'm just going to have to wait and play the games on PS5. And I love my Series X. I have a bunch of games on disc on my Series X, and I do recognize that because of the standard Blu-rays still being used for all of Xbox's physical media, many of those games don't have all the content on the disc. I get that. I've come to terms with that. But still, having the installer for those titles alone gives me more freedom of purchase. And like I said before, the open market approach that physical provides is arguably the more important issue here. I think that what stings here is that after you spend $100 on a quote physical edition of the game, you just expect to at least have a disc of some type. I get that Microsoft may not put all the content on the disc. I understand if that's what they're going to do here, but it's the fact that you just don't get it. You get everything that makes it look like it, except the thing that counts. I don't have cases of games and movies on my shelves filled with nothing. That's just excess to me. That's pointless. I'm not interested in having something on my shelf just so I can look at it every now and again and remind myself of how the good old days were. I like the novelty of putting a disc in, pressing play, having something tangible, something real in my hands. And what's even more obnoxious here is the fact that Avowed's box art and steelbook is just beautiful. It's a wonderful piece of artwork in of itself, but the principle of what it would mean if I were to invest money into it and just come home and put a code in my console and watch the download meter, what do I do with the case afterwards? This is the dilemma that I'm faced with. And I hate to say it, but I just have this pessimistic outlook. I truly feel that the next Xbox is going to be a digital only platform. The writing is on the wall at this point. I can't see Microsoft even caring to invest in an optional disk drive like Sony did. And what this means, sadly, is that the Series X is probably going to be the last Xbox console I own. I love that machine. I love the fact that I can put in an Xbox 360 game and enjoy some of my collection updated, made more beautiful on the platform. I love the quietness, the speed, even the design of the Series X itself. I just think it's a well put together and probably the most solid piece of tech that Microsoft has ever built. But what does a digital only console do for me? I can't play my 360 games. I can't play my Xbox One games. I can't even, play my physical current gen games that I have right now on it. The PC has been this route since almost the beginning, but even when I was buying discs for PC games back in the early 2010s, I used to go to GameStop and unbox them for you guys on this channel. They still gave me an activation code in the box, which meant that I could install the game via the DVDs it came with, or download the game entirely off of Steam or the EA app or whatever the case would be. Like, you got the flexibility there, and it's just sorely going away. It's just sad, man. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. I have some Xbox fans in my community here, and I just want to know how you guys feel about these physical editions with no discs. I shouldn't even call them that. They're basically digitally boxed editions of games. But if you're a longtime Xbox fan, do you like the approach Microsoft is going for? I personally am wary of a subscription-based future. I don't like the idea that we're paying continuously every single month and getting things that are trickled down to us, but the ownership of them disappears later on in time. In my opinion, both Game Pass, digital purchases, and physical games, they can all exist side by side by side. And there doesn't have to be a destruction of one to make room for another. But who am I kidding? This isn't about that. This is about money at the end of the day. And I'm sure Microsoft saves a ton on not having to produce discs. And they're still paying for the steelbook in this case, though. Thanks, everyone. I hope you guys have a great day. I'm interested to hear what you guys think, and hopefully this doesn't become the norm. But I guess we'll have to wait and see.